Benjamin, thanks for coming back on the show. Congratulations on your new appointment.
Thanks.
The very definition of charities in this country is that they must be politically neutral. So how can Friends of the Earth, the Wildlife Trust, Greenpeace all be campaigning for Britain to stay in the European Union?
I think when you're talking about politically neutral, there's a difference between not taking a side in terms of which political party you want. But when it comes to the issues like the environment, the protection of our wildlife, the cleanliness of our beaches, air and water pollution, I think charities like Friends of the Earth or Greenpeace are very entitled to put forward their policy views on what is best to protect those issues. And I think what they've done by pointing out some of the issues and some of the ways in which the EU has helped them is absolutely right to delivering the objectives that those charities exist for.
Now, obviously, this story was in the Barclay Brothers pro-Brexit paper, the Daily Telegraph. But having said that, these are political questions, surely. I mean, some people don't even believe that climate change exists. Whatever one thinks of the arguments, these are deeply political issues.
I mean, that very point could suggest that these charities shouldn't do anything, because yes, some people think climate change doesn't exist, but these charities, some of them exist to campaign on the very issue of climate change. So they can't avoid being political in some sense. We live in a world where those are the issues. And if you were to put the argument that these major organisations who employ lots of people and who stand up for lots of people across Britain, that they shouldn't take a view and that they shouldn't put forward their ideas and their thoughts on an issue as big as the EU referendum, I think you have to ask yourself, what sort of democracy would that be, where third sector organisations and charities aren't allowed a say in the public policy and in policy debates that the British people are looking at, like the EU referendum?
You're right, that is the question. So what is the point of charities? I mean, the point is the taxpayer is subsidising Greenpeace to tell us how to vote in June. Surely there shouldn't be any charities, actually, actually suggests.
These charities get money from all different places, and they get that money to deliver their objectives and to deliver for the reasons that they exist in their constitutions. Now, all of these green organisations are there to promote good policy that protects our environment and our wildlife. Now, there are things that the EU has done which do protect those interests and do deliver the objectives which those charities exist for. And they've lobbied for those directives over the years, and they've got them. So I think it makes sense that these organisations stand up and say, look, we're not taking a side on it. It's up to our members and up to the people in Britain how they vote. But the fact is, on issues like emissions, we've got the 2020 directive to reduce them by 20%. On issues like air and water pollution, they're things where we have to work with other nations and in our neighbourhood of the European Union to get those solved. And what they're saying is these are the facts of the argument. They happen to look good that the EU is helping them. People can make their own decision, but it would be wrong to not put forward those facts.
Do you think younger members of the Labour Party, some of whom may indeed be members of Young Labour, members of Greenpeace, members of Friends of the Earth, are actually more surprised by the fact these charities are backing staying in the European Union, given the shadow of TTIP, which its detractors say will destroy the environment in Europe in favour of multinational corporation power?
The first thing I'd say is that not all of these organisations are saying we should stay in the EU or we should leave. Many of them are simply putting forward the case. Now, the fact is the case is very strong that the EU is helping them, but they're not being explicit. Friends of the Earth has been explicit, and it put that past its trustees a year ago on what its position should be, because they feel overwhelmingly that the case benefits us. On the issue of TTIP, I think the jury is out. You've got Baroness Jenny Jones from the Green Party who says we should leave Europe because of it, and you've got Caroline Lucas from the Green Party who says we should stay in because of it. I think, as a general rule of thumb, you have more influence when you're sat at the table and you have a vote and you have a say than when you're not sat at the table.